See the moonlights on the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Tallawah TV is in the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Got a corner on the telephone. Yeah, this is the Ocean of the Messenger, and you're watching Tallawah TV with the host and best. So, Davis, take it away.
Damn, can I put me on?
So yeah, I guess I could ask you, and the coaching setup, how have the coaches responded to you?
Yeah, since I transitioned from player to coach, the support has been amazing. The head coach, Sean Driscoll, has been kind of like a big brother slash father figure, even though he's only 19 years older than me. And the associate head coach, he actually just got that title, Mike Poehler, have been very, very instrumental in my transition and how comfortable I am with the role, and being around the girls. It's been great, and the entire supporting staff in Princeton athletics have been very, very welcoming, and it's been a very good experience so far. And I just wanted to big them up, because I think if I didn't have that strong support, I probably would not have been here right now talking to you.
Oh, I'm really happy to hear that. See, now you're gonna make me become a fan of Princeton. See, I'm gonna have to like buy something like I don't know, hoodie. They must sell hoodies, right?
Oh, they've got everything, yeah.
Okay, see, now I'm gonna have to like look into that. But I'm gonna hold that thought until I come to New Jersey, and then we could just like take it from there.
Yeah, I could even give you a T-shirt that says Princeton Soccer. So
Yeah, I would love that. I
that
would
was
love that. But I'm really glad that in the pandemic, because it's just been like a difficult time for so many of us. So many of us have been struggling with our mental health, anxiety. I know quite a few people, like including myself, I just realized that you do actually have like anxiety issues that you didn't really realize that you had until the pandemic. So I'm really happy that you're in a space that is very supportive of you and your mental well-being.
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate as well, and I don't take that for granted at all, because when I was injured in France during the pandemic last year, almost to the date, when I got a very bad wrist injury, I was in a cast and everything for like 3 weeks, and that was tough because the country had shut down and our season was in jeopardy. It was suspended at the time, and ultimately got canceled. So that was a very difficult time for me mentally, and right now it seems like a distant memory, because right now I feel great, so it's like day and night, or nights and days. So it's been a ride, and I hope people who are in those dark spaces at the moment can hopefully see the light at the end of the tunnel, because it's there.
Well said, well said. Princeton, please continue to take care of our golden girl. And just like that, you've just won yourself hundreds of Jamaican fans from across the diaspora and in Jamaica as well. So please continue to take care of her, and I'm sure she will return the favor in return.
Thank you.
Right, guys, this is the big one. I've gone and got our World Cup hero, and we're going to talk about that key decisive moment with Nicole McClure between the sticks. Right, so this is our golden girl, our reggae girl, Nicole McClure, as I like to call her, Nicole Princeton McClure. How are you?
I'm great. I love the introduction. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm okay. I would have been better if your boys had picked up 3 points yesterday, but I can't complain.
I didn't see the match, so maybe that's why we didn't win. So I'll take the blame for it.
The good luck charm.
Yeah, last week I saw the London Derby and we killed it. So I'm sensing a trend here.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll shift the blame onto you rather than the players or Mikel Arteta. Other than that, how's your Sunday going?
Pretty good. This morning I trained a couple of kids at the park, and then now, well, before you called, I was catching the first half of the Liverpool match, so that was nice. I'm just
I know
chilling
you.
today.
And where's your boy Raheem? Starting 11 or on the bench?
On the bench, it looks like. I don't know what happened. I didn't see the pregame talk, but hopefully he gets the chance to come in second half.
Do you fancy him at Arsenal?
That would be amazing. But I can understand if he doesn't want to come. It's been a rough a couple of 10 years. But that would be great because Aubameyang does need some support. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you never
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, I'm desperate for a Jamaican born player to play for Arsenal. I was actually hoping that your girl Bunny would sign for the women's side, but she's gone to Man City, so I'll give her my support from a distance, but would have been better if she was in the red and white of Arsenal.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? It's a good look. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
any Jamaican in the women's league, sorry, is
Yeah.
amazing. So very, very happy for her. I wish I could catch some matches, but I can't seem to have time. But I have been following very closely on Instagram and whatnot.
Amazing, amazing. So I want to know because I know I've touched base with you in the past. I've also had the privilege of meeting you in the flesh, as I did with the rest of the Reggae Girls, but I've never really had the chance to sit down and speak to you. I don't even know if I've ever interviewed you, or if I did, it was probably very brief, maybe 5 minutes, if that.
Yeah, it was very brief. It was in England when I forget where we were, but it was kind of like a mixer kind of thing during the World Cup
Yes.
lead up.
Yes. That
Yeah.
was supposed to be your London send off, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I do remember. I do remember. It was like on like astroturfs, like couple pitches all around us.
Hmm.
I do remember that interview is actually still on my YouTube channel. I've got like a very short term memory. Sorry about that.
I always remember the memorable interviews. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's very kind. So I want to, because I don't think I even touched on this, because like I said back then, I must have had like 5 minutes of your precious time. So I didn't really get to know like the Nicole McClure. So like, how did you get into football? How did that journey begin?
wow. Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for interviewing me. It started in 1998, believe it or not. When my brother, he's 2 years older than me, he played for a local intramural club in Queens, New York, where I grew up. Both my parents are Jamaican, and the rest of my family, everybody born and raised there, migrated here in the 70s, etc. So I grew up in Jamaica, Queens, ironically or coincidentally, however you want to look at it. And my brother played for a local club in Queens, and I wanted to do everything he did. I was, I think, maybe 7 years old at the time. And my mother felt that I was too young to play. So she said, all right, next year, kind of like a get out of my face kind of thing. I'm busy. So I said, okay. So 365 days later, I received a flyer in school, and it was advertising the same local club. So I brought it home, showed it to her. I said, hey, next year is today. So it's time. And I believe I was 8, so around 90, 98, 99. And she said, all right. I just, it's kind of funny. Whenever I tell her this story, she can't believe that I remembered. Because she remembers speaking to my dad and saying, Laddie, didn't you remember, So, so she had no choice but to sign me up. And that was Auburndale Soccer Club back then. And the rest is history.
So from that, I gather that you will credit your brother for basically persuading you to fall in love with the beautiful game.
Yeah, I definitely do. Even though he never played again after that, he was more of a baseball and basketball guy. But yes, if it wasn't for him playing those couple of months, I probably would not have played football. But I probably would just play basketball because that was my first love. We had a hoop in the yard, and that was king. Growing up in New York City, basketball is everything. So credit to him for thinking outside the box for those couple of months.
I'm glad you actually touched on that because, like I said, you live in America, and as you've quite rightly put it, basketball is king. And of course, they refer to football like we call it football, but they refer to it as soccer.
Right.
Did anyone look at you like, why does she want to play soccer as opposed to playing basketball? And also with that, did you have any difficulty trying to forge your way into the game? Like, was it expensive or was it a struggle? And if so, what were the struggles?
It was kind of uncommon for a city kid to play soccer, to play football at the time, because most of the pitches were in Long Island, which is the suburbs of New York. So it's outside of the city, not too far, maybe about 30, 45 minutes, far enough. As far as pricing and paying all the dues and whatnot, you'd have to ask my mother. I have no idea. I imagine it was expensive. I know it is expensive nowadays because I coach kids now, and you can actually make a living being a coach. But it was maybe difficult traveling wise because most of the games were far away from the city. So a lot of early mornings, a lot of late evenings, returning home, that kind of stuff. But if you ask my mother, she would say she would do it like all over again because she loves the travel, she loves the excitement. So as a matter of fact, this morning she called me and said she's thinking about going down to Florida to watch the Reggae Girlz. I was like,
Oh, bless her.
and keep in mind,
Football mom.
so you must know.
I have this funny story, guys, about Nicole McClure's mom. And basically, she's this gorgeous, dark-skinned lady with a unique look. And me being me, I was in France for the World Cup. I think it must have been for the Italy game. I see a lady that looked exactly like Nicole's mom, right? So I'm there like running, chasing after this lady's walking at full pace, and I'm a fast walker, so I'm chasing after this lady. Finally caught up to the lady. She was with another, I'm guessing it must have been her friend. She was with a friend. And I got up to her and I introduced myself to her, like tell her, you know, this is who I work for. And I was like, are you Nicole's mom? And she burst out laughing, and the lady was like, no, that's not Nicole's mom, but that is Humenzi's sister. And I was like, what are the odds? But it really did look like your mom. I was just like blown away. I was like, by the way, you look exactly like her mom, but I'm really sorry about that.
That's hilarious. I think I remember you telling me that because I remember asking my mom. I was like, "Did someone with the English accent interview you?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't think so." But yeah, my mom doesn't have a very distinct look. Bald head, beautiful, radiant, dark skin. Yes.
That's the reason why I got so confused. I was like, even till today, I'm like, how is that not her mom? Like, they look like, I don't know, that's probably her long lost sister because they look alike, right? Let's look at your playing career, because you played across Europe and you also played in Israel as well. What, culture-wise, what was your best taught lesson?
Oh boy, culture-wise, I would say playing my first year was in Iceland, and that was a learning experience for me. I would go there again over and over and over again. It's one of my favorite places in the world, culturally, because going there, first of all, I was not familiar with Scandinavia at all, especially Iceland. We didn't really learn about that in school, that particular country, but going there was so cool because their history is very interesting. Like it was named Iceland to keep people away from the country. Like I found that very interesting. And the people are very, very kind and very warm despite the weather. But at the time, back in 2012, the football wasn't very good. It wasn't very strong. So I conceded quite a few goals. Not going to say the number, but it was detrimental to me mentally. But I pushed through. I actually wanted to quit playing altogether, but I pushed through with the support of my family and everything like that. And I'm glad I did not quit because I wouldn't be where I am today. But in terms of off the field, the people are very, very kind, even though not many people look like us. But the moment you smile at them, they'll smile right back and they just talk to you. It's amazing. Like it's a great, great place.
If you don't mind me asking, what was it that made you think, you know what, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I should try something else?
Probably the amount of games that we lost.
So is that a psychological thing then, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and also at the time, the training wasn't very strong. I didn't really have a solid goalkeeper trainer. And that was very difficult for me because I was used to having training all the time, coming from college. And I expected, you're at the professional level, it should be, a bit more serious. But at the time, the club had just become professional. So the funds were not really there, a lot of volunteer coaches and stuff like that. So that was a bit of a learning curve for me. My ego was in check, of course. But again, I would do it all over again because I learned so much about myself.
Incredible, incredible. Do you ever fear like going into the unknown? And I'm saying the unknown because you go into these countries and it's like, I've never been to this country before. I don't know about their culture. I don't know about their diversity. Is there any fear that like pops up in your mind?
Believe it or not, no. And it's very ironic because growing up, I was like more of a homebody. You know, didn't really like to go out like that. You know, I have a very small circle of friends. But going overseas was more of like an adventure. You know, I kind of looked at it that way. You know, like learning different cultures, different languages, eating different foods, meeting different people from all walks of life, Canadians, Americans, the Europeans themselves. So it was more of a like, this is a cool adventure. Let's go check it out kind of thing.
Who's the friendlier of the two? The Europeans, or the Americans?
Oh, Europeans. By far.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I think Europeans are more friendly than Americans in general.
Okay.
In general. But remember, keep in mind, I'm coming from New York City where nobody talks to anybody. So going over there.
I'm surprised because I thought because of where you're from, Queens, I'm thinking because of the heavy Jamaican culture that you would be more friendly because when we go back home, people are like, it's not uncommon for someone to say good morning, good evening, but over here, don't hold your breath because you will not get that unless you and your neighbors are like that.
See, it might, I guess it depends. It might
probably a British thing then.
Probably. Because when I'm in New York and I'm saying, for example, I'm going for a jog in the mornings, a lot of the elderly would say good morning or whatever because they're outside walking themselves or, you know, watering their gardens and stuff like that. But people around our age, not so much. But here, I notice here in New Jersey, everyone says hello, which is very strange to me. People of all ages, you know, they, hey, how you doing? I'm like, fine.
Why are you so happy?
Right. People kind of look at you and, you know, nod. But again, it depends on the country.
Yeah, I think if you came to Britain, it will be slightly different because they're known for being a little bit miserable. But then again, like I said, I'm lucky. I live in an area where my neighbors are really like nice people and we say hello to each other. But when you go out different areas, I notice that the attitude or the warmness is completely different.
Right. Yeah.
I have to ask you, so when you're going to all these other countries, what comes to mind? Like, what are some of the things that you write down and think, okay, that's got to be tick, that's got to be tick? Like when you speak to your agent or your representative, do you think, okay, where's the closest hairdresser? Where can I get some hard food? Does that come to mind? Because if I'm you, listen, when I'm looking around for places to rent, I tell people this all the time because it used to be a thing, but because of inflation, it's changed. Used to be you get 3 plantains for £1, right? Which is pretty damn good. They don't do it like that no more. They've added like a 20p to it or something like that. And when I go to places and I look around, I'm like, if I don't see no hard food, I'm like, this place is not for me. Sorry.
That is so funny you mentioned that because I remember in 2012 when I was going to Iceland, my father said to me, make sure you walk with your seasoning. I was like, what? And I kid you not, half of my big suitcase, I was going to be away for like 6 months, was filled with seasoning, pimento and all kinds of dried seasoning, right? And I'm so glad I brought it because no offense to our Scandinavian brothers and sisters and neighbors, their food is not as flavorful as anyone else's. But when I went to Sweden, I actually found a market that sold plantain and stuff like that, and even yam, which was great. So I tend to look. I tend to find these things. Even in France, I found some things too. Some places.
Did you? Mm-hmm. I should have hit you up in France because when I was in France, first of all, I was scared to take that trip by myself because all I could think of is taken, and I'm just like, no. I was like, no, like the only time I ever travel by myself is when I'm going back home or like when I'm going to like visit my dad in New Jersey. So when I had to take that trip, to France, I was getting anxiety. I was like, no, please don't kidnap me. But thankfully, that didn't happen. Food wise, I was struggling,
Yeah.
especially when we went to this would have been Italy. Okay, yeah, it would have been Italy because we were in Champagne City, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I know you girls had your designated chef, but
Thank
for
God.
the rest of us, yeah, it was looking bleak. I did not see a yam in sight.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, it was rough during World Cup time. The food, I don't like French food. I like French African food. And I like the French food here in America is way different, but over there is very, very boring, very bland, just barely salt and pepper, if that.
Mm.
And I struggle as well, so I know what you mean.
What's your favorite dish, like favorite Jamaican dish?
Oh my gosh, everything. You don't have enough time. But
So many.
I know I could eat. My mother, my favorite dish from my mother was her brown stew chicken with rice and peas.
Oh,
I love my jerk chicken and festival. I could eat that all day.
yes,
And then
yes,
aunt's curry goat and rice and beef. Like I can go on for days. Anything
yeah.
except for pork. I don't like pork, but
Really?
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Actually, Europe changed me because I didn't really care for it, so I just cut it out.
Mm. Interesting, interesting. What's your advice to young girls and young boys who want to follow in your footsteps instead in the sense of making that brave decision to step out of their comfort zone and travel to a country which is the unknown for them?
I would say just do it. You know, just take a risk, you know. I mean, it may sound cliche, but you really do only have one life, right? So you don't want to live a life of what ifs kind of thing. You know, try it for a couple of months and if you like it, great. Keep going for 9 years like I did. If not, at least you can say you did it, you know, because a lot of my peers have done it maybe a couple of months and said, okay, that's enough. That's enough for me kind of thing. But I'm sure they don't regret it, right? So I would just say, just have an open mind. Be careful, of course. Be mindful because not everywhere is friendly. I could definitely tell you that much. Um, and just enjoy the experience and just take one step at a time.
That's quite an interesting and a key bit of advice. And I like what you ended on, that not everywhere is friendly. When you find yourself in these situations, how do you bounce back when you've come across a scenario that's you're not comfortable with, something that's probably knocked your confidence? What's helped you to bounce back from that?
I've always had a pretty good intuition growing up. Again, being from New York City, you always have to check your shoulder all the time, right? If the vibes are not good, I'm out, kind of thing. I mean, for example, I transferred clubs at a very young age because I realized that I'm not getting much out of it, kind of thing. And then fast forward to the professional level, if I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to let the manager know this isn't for me. And then just, I'll be very professional about it, of course, and then just go about my business. And that happened second time in Croatia when I was there. So yeah, I mean, if I know I don't like somewhere, I'm good.
Lovely stuff. I have to ask you, how often do you think about that decisive penalty shootout that took us to the World Cup? Because I've always rang you praises on this. I know you're a humble individual, but I've always said that you played such a pivotal role in getting us to our first ever Women's World Cup. And when I think back to that moment, all I can get is just chills because it was a gripping shootout.
Yeah, I think about it pretty often, actually. Sometimes I have to use it as motivation for the players that I work with. Even I don't really like to talk about myself like that, but I do realize that it was a big deal, you know, whether I want to admit it or not, you know. But I think about it pretty often. Yeah, and it still actually gives me chills as well. I remember it like it was an hour ago, you know, like if I could relive that moment over and over again, my life would be complete.
You are incredibly humble. I know one day if I'm ever blessed with having kids, I'll definitely be telling them about that golden moment. Nail biting stuff. It's 2-2. I'm looking at my TV screen. I'm thinking, what is happening here? And then, as if nerves wasn't high enough, you've got our head coach at the time, Hugh Menzies, going in and shaking things up. 120 minutes on the clock, and he decides to bring in Nicole, and everyone's like frozen, like, oh my God, we're now going to penalties. And up to you step. Could you hear the fans at that moment? Or was it just completely, everything was just blacked out?
I didn't hear anything, to be honest. And some people have asked me if I was nervous. I said, no, not at all. As a matter of
Love
fact,
that.
you know, I mean, I'm humble, yes, but I'm a professional as well, you know. So I literally had on blinders kind of thing. And it's so funny you mentioned the whole nail biting thing. My mom was telling me she was at my dad's house watching in Brooklyn at the time, and she was pacing back and forth, like, what's going on? It's ridiculous. I'm nervous, kind of thing. And my father's sitting on the sofa and he's saying, all right, they're bringing experience now. Because my mother was freaking out, saying, why are they putting Nicole in this situation, kind of thing.
That's, your mom is right, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, I was losing my mind. I was like, what is coach doing? What? But you know what? I'm just a spectator. I'm just a fan. I am not a coach. I know nothing. Because that was the absolute right decision to do.
Yeah, we actually we trained it several days leading up to that match. So it's kind of like, was it staged kind of thing? Because we would always work on penalties for like maybe 3 or 4 days prior to that particular match, just in case, you know. I didn't know I was going to get subbed in, but I was always ready, you know. And the moment the goalkeeper coach gave me the nod, I literally took off my coat, put on my gloves, and I literally said out loud, all right, big man thing now. Like,
oh
just
my
like
God.
that. I mean, I'm kind of goofy like that. So just kind of just put on my gloves, went to the side and started warming up. And I was ready.
It's iconic, guys. I know she doesn't want to say that she was the key player that took us in that moment to the World Cup, but she really and truly was. If you ever have a spare moment, please check out that incredible shootout. We beat Panama 4-2 on penalties, and it's chilling stuff. So if you ever get a moment, please go back and watch that penalty shootout. What's the uniqueness of this Reggae Girlz squad? Because like I said, I've had the pleasure of meeting you all as individuals and as a collective. And the impression that I get from the team is you are one. You don't have to meet you girls in person. You see it on screen that there is sincere chemistry there. So what's the uniqueness of your squad?
I think it's the vision. At the time, we were just so focused on getting there. You know, we're very, very, a lot of us were professionals, and a lot of us played at a very high level, at the college level, I should say. So high level amateur and medium level professional. And we were just so ready every single time we stepped onto the pitch. I think that was the difference. Very organized on and off the pitch. And I think it's the cohesion of the blend of the girls from the diaspora like myself and the girls actually homegrown, you know, just coming together, listening to music before matches, during practice, all kinds of stuff, working for each other, like typical team stuff, you know. And we all bought into the dream. And I mean, I feel like that's it.
It's quite incredible that you touched on, you know, girls from the diaspora and girls that are born in Jamaica, because you got that perfect balance. Balance was just perfect. The respect was there. The love was there. The chemistry was there. Do you find it surprising that when you look at your male counterparts, so the reggae boys, the balance isn't quite there, and when you do try to go for that balance, many fans are saying no, they don't want, you know, players in the diaspora, too many players in the diaspora coming into the team, and so on.
I understand where those fans and those pundits are coming from. I believe that a national team should have at least mostly players from the nation, because it's a national team. It's not a club team, you know. But if, you know, the managers believe that the players from the diaspora can bring a different perspective or a different style to the team that would strengthen the team, it's a good idea. I mean, it worked in 1998 when the men made it, right? So what say 2019 when the women, or 2018 when the women made it into 19? I think it's a good balance. I guess a healthy balance to have players from the diaspora and the actual nation across the world, you know. But there should be a healthy balance, like you said. You know, you can't just have someone whose step grandmother is from the country and they know nothing about the country that they're representing, kind of thing. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah,
No, I
yeah.
love that. I love that. You're not the first person to say that. I spoke to reggae boy Joel Grant, and he touched on something very key to what you've just said, which is basically about getting authentic Jamaicans to play in the squad. How, you know, when you see that player that comes into the team and they're not authentic, how does the players around you react to that? Because they might not be willing to buy into, you know, the overall planning of the team. The overall planning of the team starts with even minimal stuff. So it comes down to the food that you eat, the music that you listen to. It's a cultural impact, isn't it? So how do you feel when you get a player that comes into the team and they're just like, it don't seem like you respect my culture as well as you should?
Right. I think it's very disappointing because I have had those experiences. I'm not going to mention any names, but I have encountered teammates who embodied that. And it's really, really sad and disheartening because how did they get here, kind of thing? And why is that player selection even an option? Because, like I said, it's not a club team. It's not like it's Manchester City where you have players from all over the world. It should be at least 80% from the country, kind of thing, or at least have all the players from diaspora like myself who actually know things about the country, you know, because it's more than just playing. You know, it's an experience. It's a vibe. I really don't know how to put it into words, but when you're representing a country, it's totally different from school and club and all kinds of stuff like that. And when I see players like that, it really does break my heart and it irks me, to be honest. And I call them out sometimes and I say, seriously, like, you don't know what breadfruit is, kind of thing. You don't know the national anthem, believe it or not. I've had teammates like that. And it's disappointing, really, point blank.
I'm glad that we've had key figures in the dressing room like yourself who aren't afraid to, dare I say, cause an upset, because sometimes you have to set players straight, you know. Yes, you might be born in, for example, the UK or America, but once you put on that black, green, and gold, you are representing Jamaica and you are Jamaica. So you need to do things our way, full stop. Or if not, if you're not willing to come on board, fully on board, then don't accept the call up. You know, watch the games from home. Don't upset the morale. And I think it was important for us to touch on that because I tell people all the time that they're like, you know, what's happening with the reggae boys? It don't happen with the reggae girls. I'm like, it does happen with the reggae girls. It's just that the reggae girls don't air out their dirty laundry, especially when they're trying to qualify for a World Cup. And that's what I respect about the team is that there was so much happening inside the run up to the World Cup, but the players weren't trying to come out and, you know, expose their teammates. One and two might have done some stuff on the side, but as a collective, you weren't getting that from the team.
Right. Yeah, and it's really important because, you know, team morale is very, very important. It's not just playing, you know, and one bad seed can spread, just like energy is very contagious. So it's not my place to call out player X for not knowing the national anthem publicly. You know, it is my place to bring it up and say, hey, that's ridiculous. You don't know the anthem. Here, how can I help her learn it, kind of thing. You know, and it also isn't our fault that we're not born in the country. If I would change my birth certificate. I would, to be honest, because the way my parents raised me and my brother, you couldn't tell us we're not Jamaican because we did everything that they did when they were kids, of course, with an American flair because we lived in America. But I mean, it's just unfortunate that these things happen, but it's part of the experience.
You touched on something that was quite important. And you said that there was this mixture, there's this organic mixture of players who were amateur, players who were professional, players who were playing at the college level. That being said, Do you think that because you weren't all, as a collective, you weren't all professionals, do you think that, and the fact that, and I'm going to say, and the fact that you are women, do you think that caused the disrespect to multiply?
I think so. Yeah, because as women players, we take a lot of crap. So it's yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but again, we can't help it. I mean, we have players who are not old enough to play professional yet. You know, they're still in school. It's not their fault, but at least they're doing something to represent the country on a positive note. So I don't think it's a bad thing for them to go out there and show their stuff, but they have to have the maturity to face the backlash of the media and whoever else, you know?
Spot on. Now, how much does the visible lack of respect fuel the girls for success? I'll give you one example. You were, I believe this might have been the semi-finals. Might have been playing the semi-finals for the World Cup, right? And then by then, the new football kit had dropped. So by then we were rocking with Umbro.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that game and I'm seeing the girls in the old kit. And I'm thinking, I'm sorry, but that got me angry. I'm watching it and I know that there were other football fans across the diaspora in Jamaica that was feeling the same way. So how much does that visible lack of disrespect fuel the girls for success?
I mean, just like qualifiers, you have to have on your blinders, right? I mean, we've taken a lot of nonsense from people who are on our side, like the JFF, and people who are just watching and whatnot. So it does light a fire in our souls for sure. Because even the I remember the some of the t-shirts said Reggae Boys, and we're like, seriously?
Thank you. Thank you.
What is
And that, I'm glad you touched on that, because when I went to France, I refused to buy the kit, refused to buy the kit. And the only reason why I actually bought it was because it was an historic moment. So those two kits behind me, with the Umbro away and Umbro home, you will not catch me wearing that outside of my house because it says the Reggae Boys. And I'm like, common sense should tell you to get a generic kit. The girls were on the brink of creating history, and you're telling me that you did not think for once that, hello, the kit should not say Reggae Boys. How did you feel when you saw that?
disrespected? I mean, that just goes to show you how little whoever was behind that thought of us. You know, a lot of people back home in Jamaica, unfortunately, don't believe that women should be playing football, point blank, and that right there says it all. You know, like, we're over here busting our behinds, doing everything we can to put women's football on the map in a positive light. You know, 20 plus years when the men did it, and you're still not respecting us. Couldn't even just change it to Reggae Girlz or just leave it blank? Like, come on, you really are that backwards in your thinking? It was very disrespectful, you know. And honestly, I don't blame people for not buying it. I probably wouldn't buy it either. You know, like my mother has my jersey that says our last name on it, so it's not anything that she went out of her way to get. But it's just sad. It's sad.
Did they remove it for the World Cup? Did they remove the Reggae Boys?
I think they did. I know for mine didn't say anything because I had the goalkeeper kit, but that's a very good question. I'm not sure. You'd probably have to ask one of the field players. I think it was though, but don't
Yeah.
quote.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Tiffany Cameron might have said the same thing for you, that yeah, she didn't notice it. So based off that, I think they did actually remove it just for your kids. But in terms of the fans,
Hmm.
I will say, unfortunately, it says Reggae Boys, and it's no disrespect to the Reggae Boys, but I support both teams. How would the Reggae Boys feel if their shirt said Reggae Girls? They wouldn't even play in it.
Exactly.
They wouldn't even
That's the
play in
difference.
it.
That's the
They
difference.
wouldn't play in it. You couldn't pay them to play in it because it's a disrespect.
Mhm.
Let's touch on someone who is extremely important in this powerful process of yours, and that's none other than Cedella Marley. Where would the team be without the backing of the Bob Marley Foundation?
There would be no team. Full stop. That's it. I mean, if it wasn't for Sedella, there would be no team. And I say that because she fully funded the team back in 2014 when the suspension was lifted for the senior team. We started the Strike Hard campaign that was all the Bob Marley Foundation before Alacran and the other sponsors came along. But again, if it wasn't for her, literally her, because she was there for the camps, for the games, for the meetings, everything. There would be no Reggae Girlz. There would be no conversation here. There would be no, Nicole and Chris still talking right now. So it again, a lot of the credit goes to her and her camp.
Yeah, all love to her, and yeah, she's a hero for us. The whole journey, the whole process. So we have to definitely take our hats off to her as well. And I think whilst we're at it, we should also pay homage to the late great Miss Nelson. Obviously, that was sad news that came for us that she's no longer with us, but she's a giant within Jamaican football, especially for the women's game as well, isn't she?
Yeah, I mean, she was a pioneer. I still can't wrap my head around it. I attended her funeral virtually last week, and that was tough. She really, really believed in us. She's very, very quiet, very talk about humble. Oh my gosh. But Miss Nelson was awesome. Ask you a million questions to get one, but she would always say it, kind of thing. She had her quirks, but she always meant well. And she was a ride or die for sure.
Absolutely. She was the ultimate 12th man, the ultimate 12th man, the prayer warrior. This is somebody who you needed on your side. So I hope that she rests in perfect peace, and she will no doubt be missed by many.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, condolences to her daughter and her kids, I just hope that family can, push through.
Well said, well said. Let's go back and look at the reason for this conversation. We haven't even touched on it yet. It's only right that we do. Guys, I'm telling you, her name is not Nicole McClure no more. It's Nicole Princeton. When you say her name, you put some respect on her name, okay? So how did you get to that journey? What was the coaching process like? How did you get your badges? Like, I want to know everything.
Honestly, I don't have any badges at the moment, believe it or not. Not yet, I should say. Right now, I just have the grassroots, so I'm qualified to work with children under the the U.S. Federation. But it's so funny because coaching college was never in my plan, I should say, but it apparently was in God's plan. Because I was so like, I just want to play, and we'll figure it out from there. And I was like, I took a step back. Thanks to the pandemic, everything slowed down. There was no more football. I was in France, then the season got canceled because of the outbreak again. I got injured. It was a lot of time to reflect. So I was like, okay, what's next, kind of thing. I was probably only going to give playing maybe 3 more years and see how it goes. So it's kind of got sped up my retirement. So I was interviewing with several schools. A lot of no's, a couple of yeses, and Princeton was one of the yeses, and they took a chance on me. And right now I'm doing pretty well. I'm very hard on myself, but they keep reassuring me that I'm doing well. And at the moment we have 9 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. So not bad for my first college experience.
I'm going to put that down to you because you're too humble. You're not going to big up yourself. So I'm going to put that down to you. If anybody wants to challenge me on that, you're more than welcome to, but you're not shifting my mind. I'm putting that down to Nicole Princeton McClure.
I'm just here to help. I'm just here to guide. The players do the work. I just push them.
How did your family react to that bit of news? Because when I think of Princeton, it's so funny. When I think of Princeton, I think of Carlton from Fresh Prince. And now I'm not thinking of Carlton no more. I'm thinking this is Nicole Princeton McClure instantly.
Sheesh. It's so funny because when I thought of Princeton, it was just academics, very very high academic and nerds and all kind of stuff. But the girls are very down to earth. It's a very family oriented situation kind of thing. It's great. I really like it, to be honest. To be completely honest with you, I'm really enjoying it. It's very challenging, but I embrace it. I embrace it. It's great.
What's like your usual day to day? Like, are you up at like crack of dawn? Do you have like late nights? Because I always tell people, like, people just like, oh yes, you get to go to games, and I'm just like, it's not that glamorous. You have no idea the time that I have to wake up. If I'm doing a midweek game, God go with me, because I'm not coming home until like 12, 1 o'clock, right? And then by then I have to sleep and get ready for work the following morning. So football is not glamorous. Like, yes, we might look good at award shows, or if you manage to go to a World Cup, that's the sexy side of it. But there's a lot of like groundwork. So what's your usual day looking like?
Yeah, well, today I have a day off, and I say off because I was coaching earlier with the kids as a side thing. But tomorrow I head into the office in maybe like 10 a.m. Not too bad, and just go over a lot of things that we did over the weekend, because we played yesterday against Dartmouth and we beat them, which was nice. We have to. It's a lot of groundwork, like you said. So I'm responsible for the logistics, not only the footballing, the goalkeeping, but like we have an upcoming road trip. We're going up to Rhode Island to play Brown, so I have to make sure that everything is in line. Like the food, very important. What time we're leaving? Is the hotel okay? Like, what's their COVID restrictions? Now I got to deal with that kind of stuff. I have to watch game film and go break down the goalkeeper's movements, scout the other team, the teams that they played against as well, because we will play them. Um, yeah, it's a lot, and I don't even think I'm covering everything. I also have to like input the receipts from buying their food. A lot of HR and compliance meetings that we have coming up, and you have to stay in line because Ivy League is different from the rest of college.
You hear that, guys? If there's anyone from JFF that's watching, listen to what Nicole is saying. This is one of the best in the making. She's at Princeton University, and she will no doubt only get better. And I would fancy seeing you getting back into this Reggae Girl setup in whichever capacity, whether that's in a coaching role or whether that's to see you make your return to the starting 11.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I did learn a lot from the late great Miss Nelson in terms of organizing things. So I'm on the other side of that. I do miss playing. I will 100% admit that. I do miss it every time I put my gloves on and I'm facing the goal to train the girls. I'm like, man, I wish I was on the other side. But then I think about the training. Myself on the ground all the time, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be tired. I'm exhausted from doing that, from just training them. But yes, I do miss it, and if I do get the opportunity to play again, who knows? You never know. It's always been an honor to represent Jamaica. To wear the black, green, and gold is something powerful.
So that simply means that you've not pulled the curtains on your international playing career then, correct?
Correct. I would say the door is ajar.
Lovely. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. I would love to see you back in that black, green, and gold, like I just said, in whatever capacity, because I think you have the right aura, the right mindset, the right professionalism to help keep this squad together. Have you ever listened or overheard your mom or your dad speaking about the fact that you now work at Princeton University as the assistant coach?
They are over the moon. They are very, very proud, which is one of the reasons why I'm so hard on myself, because I don't want to let them down, especially my mom. But she gives very good advice, because she's a manager herself, so she understands. But my whole family is very, very supportive. So it's been a very good transition, even though I miss being the player as opposed to the coach. But it's been good.
Is the groundwork more difficult for the player, or is it more complex for the coach? Which one that you just think, oh God, like this is tough?
I would say coaching is tougher because you have to deal with, well, for me, thankfully, I only have to deal with 3 different personalities, whereas the head coach and the associate head coach have to deal with the rest of them, the 25. But I would say managing the different individuals, because goalkeepers are quirky, and we have egos, of course. So just dealing with those little nuances has been a bit of a challenge. But I mean, I'm not too far removed from them, so they can kind of relate to me in some respects. But yeah, I would say dealing with that has got to be the most difficult.
Amazing. And what is your 5-year plan?
Oh wow. Wow, what's not expecting that one. Well, at the moment, I'm doing a master's course in youth studies, so I would love to work with children, whether it's in sports or in counseling or something like that. I'm learning right now about the different nuances of how children have been treated in this country historically, which is very interesting to say the least. But I would love to work with kids from different backgrounds. My ultimate goal is to bring football to Black and brown neighborhoods, because where I grew up, like I said, it was all about basketball, and I had to travel to the suburbs to go play. And I know the interest is in our community, but it's just not there. They just don't see it. So if I can bring it to them, I think it would be a beautiful thing.
I think that you'll be the perfect person to change that mindset within the Black community, the one that don't really want to see little girls playing football because they always want to attach these negative stigmas like, oh, she's a tomboy. Nothing wrong with being a tomboy, by the way, if you're a tomboy. I think most girls, we grow up as tomboys anyways because we always want to get dirty and play rough like the boys. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's who you are, then please embrace it. And I think you'll be the ideal candidate to help change that mindset.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope. I mean, I just want to have my lasting impression to be I cared. I just want to give back to my people, or at least try to. If they're not interested, no big deal. But at least, I put it there. I planted the seed.
How does it feel to be a inspiration to the next generation?
Oh my gosh. I never really thought about it that way. It's humbling. It's definitely it's wow, it feels good to say the least. It's definitely, I don't take it lightly, because I know I definitely inspire the younger generation, even though I say I don't. um I'm humble and whatnot, but I am aware of the impact that I've made. And I don't take that lightly, and I try to do my best in everything that I do.
Excellent. Well, you already know by now that I'm a massive, massive fan of yours. I love how you carry yourself. I love how you go about your business. A bit like the silent assassin. Like, you might not hear nothing from me because I don't publicize it, but please believe that I am doing bits behind the scenes. So I wish you all the best with your future. And I know that whatever path you decide to go down, I know that you will come out on top.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You've been a huge support for how many years now. So mutual respect as well. I follow you all the time. So
Thank you. Thank you.
You're visiting your dad. I have to come and visit you.
100%. I'm looking to do it sometime next year. I was supposed to do it this year, but then things changed. So I'm just outside of the pandemic, this stuff changed. So I'm just okay, I'm gonna have to go and do this next year. So I'm definitely hitting you up when I touch New Jersey, and we can grab a drink and grab some food.
Yeah, and I mean it. I'm not just saying this as a
No, I mean it as well. 100%. Trust me, I will do it. Nicole, I know I said I only wanted you for 30 minutes and I've overran, so I do apologize for that. But thank you so much for blessing me with a moment of your time, and we will no doubt have another conversation again in the near future.
No worries, and thank you. I appreciate the time that you've taken for me.
Thank you, Nicole. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.